couple of days ago, we got our first full look at the Backrooms movie. With a new trailer, there's so much more to look at, and I'm here to tell you it all. Plus a little extra information than the average YouTuber. This trailer bumped my anticipation for the movie, which is already high, to an even higher standard. It's good, so be sure to stick around. Before we begin, tell me down below what your favorite Backrooms level is, and any theories you have for the movie. I'll make sure to reply to every comment. We start off with an iconic liminal song playing in the background by Stupendo. I freaked out when I first recognized it because I used to listen to it, unironically. I was an edgy kid, and it's probably the first liminal song I got into. The screen pans into a furniture store by the name of Cap'n Clark's, Clark being the owner of the store, who's our main character, portrayed by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who was in 12 Years as a Slave in Doctor Strange. And the last time I tried pronouncing this dude's name from my previous video, I couldn't even bother to search up how to say it. I'm sorry. It's notable to mention that this furniture store may be referencing the origins of the Backrooms, and how its original location was also at a furniture store, which is in Wisconsin, hours away from where I live. I stayed away. Tell me in the comments if I should go down there and record my experience, and maybe even interview the owner of the building. You can tell Kane did his own homework to make the Backrooms come to life, because you'll be seeing many niche references spread throughout the trailer. And at one point, he was a huge Attack on Titan fan, so I wouldn't doubt he took the extra step. We also see this sick shot of A24's branding. It's a tradition for A24 to display their name in Subway Fancy for every film they create. You'll see the cinematography is also quite reminiscent of The Shining for some parts of the film. They both have a lot of space. As Clark investigates a tall slit in the wall of his furniture store, you can just barely see it close up before he falls into it, and ultimately no clips into the Backrooms. I'm guessing that he falls into it because we sort of see him look up once he's inside, which would be unnatural if that weren't the case. The color grading really pops out in this movie, even making bright places look scary, and even when in dark areas, they managed to pull off that same thing. When I watched Friendships, I was blown away by the eeriness and filmmaking delivered by A24. At that point, I could tell a Backrooms movie made by them was definitely possible. The main character ends up getting trapped inside, losing his exit after returning to it. As Clark explores the Backrooms, he finds a pile of furniture on the ground and a massive unorganized clump that's bigger than himself, which is quite profitable for his business, if you ask me. And while he's exploring, you could hear a voice play on a loudspeaker, which is spoken in Urdu. It says,
"Hello?
This is actually a pre-recorded message from the 55 greetings from the Voyager 2 Golden Record, which is a message sent out to space in hopes, or I guess not hopes, but if aliens were to respond back. This message was sent out billions of miles from Earth and is a real-life thing that was created in 1977, years prior to the time this movie took place, which I'll get into later, meaning it ultimately ended up in the Backrooms. It's so interesting to think about, because what could this mean about the Backrooms, and how did the sound travel to the Backrooms? Back to Clark. As he turns around the corner, there's what seems to be a person in the hallway. He calls out, but gets no answer in return. You see, if we look closely, you can notice that this isn't a person, and none other than a cardboard cutout. You can also tell by the legs and how it's standing itself up. The cardboard cutout is also seen in K-Pixel's found footage number 3, around 33 minutes and 30 seconds. Kinda ironic. It's of a caveman holding a large stick that you could just barely see him holding up in the trailer. This is not the only time Kane reuses models, because the chair from the original teaser is a part of found footage number 2, another clever detail. And later he enters a room with a single camera and a door with wires poking out of it, which I'll also get into later. We then see this camera is in fact on and recording him. We get our first evidence of the movie's timeline because we see on the screen of Clark standing, looking at the camera recording him, and it tells us on the screen that this takes place in the year 1990. I think that these materials could be part of Async Corporation from K-Pixel's web series, which leads to them coming after him, and could also explain their later appearance. And although this scene happens toward the end of the trailer, I can prove that it happens after this series of events. Because if we match up the different outfits Clark wears between scenes, the scene where he steps into the room, he's in his suit, and this most matches the first time he enters the Backrooms in the trailer. The scene is also right after the main character discovers the cardboard cutout, as you can see it in the doorframe behind him, which explains what was in the room in the left of the hallway, possibly being where the sound was coming from.
Look, I know how this sounds, but you gotta understand, it's massive in there.
And you know what else is massive?
The Backrooms also references Ninja immediately peak. Afterward, we're introduced to Renate Reinsve, who is his therapist. He goes to her, saying he
Found a place.
He even made his own map that he showed her, and he says that he will come back with proof. This happens the same day, telling by his clothes. And there's some places you might recognize, such as the plus beam looking corridors. That's obviously not his real name, but also the area we see from the Pitfalls video Kane posted may also make an appearance, since you can see only boxes filled out are lined up next to each other. as well as an arrow pointing to the furthest wall, which could represent the door on the other side, just like we see in the Pitfalls video. Some text you could barely make out is old battles, which I believe could mean there are picture frames on the walls of old battles, of course. There's also an area which is heavily sketched around the perimeter stating store, which is the furniture store, where he came from. One thing I found interesting was a throne room. That could be one of the huge chairs like the oversized sofa from the teaser, which is also popular across Backrooms videos. Oversizing the legs or just anything about chairs is a popular trend. As for steel lamp, I'm not sure about it at first glance, and the rest of the text you can't make out. But we can make out the rest of this map using our critical thinking, like the arrow pointing through the wall, which is obviously the no clip spot, and the bundle of furniture that's scribbled up and stacked on top of each other. The last thing I noticed was a ladder at the top left of the map that connects with a hole in the ground, or maybe to a wall. Overall, there's still a lot to uncover. I'm sure a lot of people will solve everything online shortly after I post this video. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments. I think this dude might be Nami. Moving on, Clark likely gets his employees to assist him in discovering more about the Backrooms, and recording to create more proof, and helping him navigate by pulling each other in and out down steep areas. What's interesting is that these parts of the movie are in raw VHS footage. We see the actor Finn Bennett pose in the mirror with the camera in his hands, and Lucetta Maxwell, the girl, is also a part of his crew. They tie ropes to each other so they don't get lost, like the string system in the first found footage. But soon enough, one of them gets in a rush to get back, likely being Finn, because Clark helped him pull him down. He helps to be brought back up. You could hear Clark say, "What did you see?" which actually proves how obsessed he's gotten with this place, to the point of caring about it more than his own people. It seems that a lot of people who make discoveries become consumed in it, and it's sad. You can spot the place where they adapt the poise system on the middle of the map, meaning that some parts of the map could be higher levitations than the others. And keep in mind, this area isn't an entrance, meaning that while they were waiting to pull Finn back in, they were still exposed to the Backrooms where the monster was chasing them, who could likely get up to them by comparing its height to the Siren Head monster from the Pitfalls video. And during this VHS sequence, there's a brief cut you wouldn't notice at first glance, which shows a TV screen with the book, The Window Within, written by his therapist, who we now know her name, Dr. Mary Klein. It states on the right of the TV screen, "Overcome barriers and take through the action," and "break through the pain," which is a horrible pun. Kane, if you made that up, props to you. Back to the filmmaking of this movie, it's amazing how they depict a variety of the Backrooms, with items clipping into walls and each other. There's even a sideways hallway during the VHS portion of the trailer, and a Christmas display of mannequins, statues, or maybe even people stuck in the ground, possibly from being no-clipped wrongly. These are all things I've never seen before in the Backrooms, and it's fascinating to imagine. Another clever detail, specifically for the hardcore fans, is at 1:45 in the trailer, a shot from the same room as the picture in the original 4chan post gets run past, something we've all been wondering if it would make an appearance in the film. And we've seen it in the trailer, and the stop sign from Clark's room is in the Backrooms. I wonder if you'll notice it. A lot of these seem to be coming from the places he recognizes, which makes sense because this area is closest to his furniture store, which copies it and adds to the Backrooms. In the next sequence, his therapist begins to believe it and looks for herself, but I think that she could be looking for him. She then goes to the entrance in the basement of the furniture store and manages to no-clip inside from the front rooms to the Backrooms. A beautiful scene. Even they had to say it themselves. I always find it satisfying when a character or a person in general is seen as crazy, but later proves to the other person that they were right all along. The only downside is that we all know nothing satisfying is about to happen for his therapist in the next couple of scenes. You can also notice a tape from Found Footage 2 of Kane Pixel's Backrooms web series. It might not be the exact tape, but there's a possibility. Maybe Clark found more than one place that things can no-clip through, enough to fit an object like that. This is known as a no zone, where reality connects with the Backrooms, an area where you don't have to accidentally fall into the Backrooms, but instead travel through it at any point. One other thing I caught immediately was that the tape is somewhat reminiscent of The Caretaker. I'm hoping, and basically we all are hoping, that his music will be in this movie. It just fits too well. In the next scene, you see a therapist running away from something in a cramped space. The thing is, we don't yet know what she faces. We see her with dirt, or maybe even blood all over her. She looks nasty. We could wonder about what's chasing her all day, but what's at the end of this tight space? Because I see clouds in the sky, something bright, maybe even an area like level 94. And not exact, because we all know that Kane doesn't implement too many of his ideas from the Backrooms wiki. In fact, he doesn't even have levels. I think this is the closest we'll get. The day before the release of this trailer, we got two posters, both situations we've already seen, but closer up. One of Clark looking up at the Backrooms in awe, and one that sticks out a bit more, of his therapist in the same situation as we saw her in the ending of the first trailer. And at first, I'll admit, I thought she was on the ground, but you can clearly see her head is pressed against the wallpaper. Like I was saying earlier, there are wires throughout the trailer, one most notably leading into a door from the camera room, which is most likely connected to Async. We later see another one of these wires while the therapist is trying to get out of a tight space from the trailer, although it looks a bit thicker this time. What could be the reason? Speaking of Async, we get a special appearance from them in their iconic hazmat suits, but one that stood out in particular. One of them was in a green hazmat suit. It seems to be sabotaging the one in yellow. It also looks like he came straight out of those YouTube shorts. I have to be completely honest, I don't like it. I'm fine with hazmats, but green just doesn't fit. They also look very fake, mainly because of the lighting, which I blame. I think if they're gonna go with the hazmat suits, at least do it in the VHS format, or else it looks cheesy, and again from those YouTube shorts. But you could argue that the found footage from these portions of the movie wouldn't make too much sense, and overdoing it would be cheap. People wouldn't be too happy. These supervisors in green have appeared in the videos Motion Detected, Pitfalls Reunion, Damage Control, and Lightning and Tile Survey by Kane Pixels. So this isn't the first time we've seen this guy, and its color has a significance. The green hazmat suits are specialized gear that the supervisors in Async wear that are a part of the oxygen intake equipment, which is used venturing out to volatile and new environments across the backrooms. My question is, what are they doing at the gas tank? Did they get lost and suddenly one of them has gone crazy? Maybe due to the insanity of being trapped forever? There's also a different wallpaper in the background, which seems to be an island. This wallpaper is actually from the furniture store, which you can see at 1 minute and 37 seconds, then copied to the background seconds later at 1:43, just stretched to fit the wall. This ties in with the theme of rooms recreating itself, making new rooms, but forgetting more about the last every time. Moving on, the trailer ends with someone who is seemingly lost, which is what most people think. But if you look close enough, you can see that this has to take place during the found footage portion of the movie, because it's recorded on the camera, meaning it has to be recorded for one of Clark's crew while exploring. And that could very much be the main character himself, as he is wearing the same clothing. They both wear a dark red flannel, blue skinny jeans, and white shoes. Why is he staring at the wall? I genuinely do not know. He's also surrounded by a seemingly empty pool and beach chairs. It might relate to the leak I talked about in my last video relating to the pool rooms. I first missed the scene when watching the trailer because I was surrounded by my friends at the lunch table. What a wild time. There have been some picture leaks that have been confirmed to not be real since this trailer has come out, proven by me, and it should be obvious enough to everybody. Because when matching the characters' clothing, I can't see any of the characters wearing this who enters the backrooms, and the set is way too large. I get that it's a 90% practical movie, but that'd still be way out of budget. And we have yet to see Mark Duplass make a cameo. Although we do already know that he's been seen from a leak on the set as an office worker, which is very likely to be a part of Async where he works. He's been a very anticipated character, so I'm very excited to see how he'll play out. I'm sure you've heard of all the music theories for this movie, and specifically my own from the last video, which I know you definitely watched. For sure, am I right? No! Okay! You don't have to answer, Kenny. As I was saying, theories have gone around saying that Kane Pixels will be a part of the soundtrack to his movie. So essentially he's done basically all of the works on his film. It's impressive. And guess what? We were correct. He ended up implementing the song Compromises in the trailer, around the middle portion. I'm glad for this because he is a heck of a producer. But the question is, will this movie be jump scared filled or not? In complete transparency, I wish for both of these. The feeling of dread and being stuck in an endless establishment and nothingness, as well as creature features. I know that James Wanmaid is a part of this movie who's collaborated with many jump scared film movies, which can mean jump scares are likely. Maybe one or two that I'm personally comfortable with in a movie like this. And the movie is also written by Will Sudick, who wrote Westworld, Homeland, Ash vs. Evil Dead, and now The Backrooms. All very successful films. Also, shout out to A24 for entrusting Kane Parsons to do this. Their now youngest filmmaker. None of this would have happened without him. This movie is also rated R, which could either mean there's lots of swearing, blood, gore, or the backrooms turn suddenly freaky. And we all know it's in the blood gore category. My way of telling this is at 1:14 when we see the slanted room from the VHS section. When the ceiling is the wall, there's what seems to be a pile of bodies of people who may have fallen down and splat to their death. My only complaints are that the backrooms could be bigger in comparison to our main character. And I get that he could be a big guy, but in reality, he's only 5'10". It's crazy to think that all of this could have been avoided if he just used all that furniture to his advantage and expand his business, maybe. I'd like to see your thoughts in the comments, so go ahead and leave what you think down there if you'd like. I love ruining my experience for every movie by spoiling myself as much as I can before it releases, so tell me what you want to see next, and who knows, maybe the story is simpler than we imagined it to be. Maybe it all could be just a burning memory.